Another day, another chance. Today I'll be going over another section. This time it's gonna be something different than what we used to. It's called MongoDB. So that's what it pretty much is. It's just MongoDB, and then yeah. So that's what it is. So let's get to this. So and yeah, my navigator would be none other than Dabo. You'll be navigating my videos, and yeah, you pretty much be going over it. So let's get to it. So 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 we got something called use strict. So what use strict does is enables a strict mode, helps which pretty much helps catch common coding errors and forces safer JavaScript practices. And then you actually let me start with my debugger, man. My debugger started off. Then yeah.
Wait, which chapter is this?
That's lesson 13, but I'm just starting my debugger now. Yeah, starting now. So yeah, so this enables strict mode, which helps catch common coding errors and forces safe JavaScript practices. And then it imports the Express framework for building the web server, right? So that's gonna be const. So const express. What happens is a variable or value called express gets assigned using the const variable. So what const does is once you assign a value to a variable, if it changes just once, then that value is deemed inoperable and turns into an error. So that's what happens. So we got that. So imports the Express framework for building the web server. So imports Express, right? The Express framework which is required for building the web server. So that's what's required. And then const app equals Express creates an instance of an Express application. So that's what happens there, right? So same. So that's what it does. So using the const app method equals Express. Const layouts equals require express EJS layouts. Import the EJS layouts middleware for managing reusable layouts and views, right? So that's what happens. And then you got const home control equals require dot slanted down slotted slash controllers. So this is pretty much the path that you have for our code, our whole our whole code or our whole app, right? The back end path for our app, or part of it actually, if you want to put it that way, which controllers then home controllers. So this takes our path controllers, as you can see there, controllers, Then home control, as was discussed in lesson 10, and then adds it to our main.js. So that's what it does. Then you got constant Mongo client equals require Mongo DB, and that imports the MongoDB client to connect and interact with a MongoDB database. So that's what it does. Then you got constant DBRL equals MongoDB colon localhost colon 27017, and that's a connection string for the local MongoDB server. So that's what it is, and then const db name equals recipe underscore db, and that's the name of the database to use. And then let db, which is a global variable, to store a reference to the connected MongoDB database. So a let variable is a variable that actually takes a db or a value for the variable and globalizes it, right? So let that globalizes a value or variable, and then what var does is it localizes it, right? So var, it just localizes and let globalize it, a global variable. So this global, so you'll be able to the terminal will be able to make use, right, of the database outside of the code and outside of the front end as well. So the terminal will be able to make use of it. And then what async does is it connects everything to the MongoDB. But what asynchronous, what that does is you're able to use right the Mongo database whilst utilizing whilst making changes and typing in info into your DB. So async function connects DB try. So what that does is connects the MongoDB server. Then contact client equals await Mongo client that connects DB URL, and the, and then selects the database by name. Then DB equals client dot DB, then DB name. Because of log, so what that does is it takes our string and it assigns it to our console, which is connected to MongoDB. So that's our string. Then cause of error, MongoDB connection error, comma error, then call the async database connection function, connection DB, commas, then app.set port, comma process.env.port or 3000. So it pretty much checks whether we should have our environment, process environment, or our 3000, or our server, which is 3000. So that's what it checks for. Then that sets the port number for the server environment variable or 3000 by default. So that's what happens. Then app.set view engine, comma EJS. Then sets EJS as the templating engine for rendering dynamic HTML views. And then app.use layouts enables EJS layout support. app.use express.url encoded extended colon false. Parses URL encoded form data for post requests. And then app.use express.json parses incoming JSON data from requests. And then middleware for logging. App.use, then we got our parameters request res next equal to or greater than console.log, which is request made to request.url. So that's what it is, request URL. So that's the request that it makes. And then that logs each incoming your request URL to the console. And then next, what that does is with an empty with an undefined value, it passes control to the next middleware or route handler. Then you got our routes, which handles GET requests with a dynamic vegetable parameter. So as you can see, we actually were routing using a GET request. So as you can see, we got a method, then our path, our parameters, which is equal to or greater than our pretty much our variable, which is home controller, then our method, then our parameters, request, rest, and database. Then this, that does is handles post requests to the root URL. That's what it does. And then you got a standard colon. Then so you got that, and then you got our handles get requests with a dynamic my name parameter. So app.name name my name, and then so that's the part that takes. Then you got a parameters request res equal to or greater than home controller respond with name. Then you got parameters, and then app.listen app.get port, then console log server running ad, and then you got a local host app.get port there. Then logs a message confirming the server is running and which port it uses. So that's pretty much it. I know I'm not finished explaining it, but in regards to like our main.js, and then like before, what we do is we initialize our project. So run node put module node package modules initial, and then what it does is it pretty much initializes. But wait, my scripts have been disabled because that's the computer that I'm dealing with. I'm joking. This is a very nice computer. I enjoy using it. npm initial, and then anything you want to say so far, navigator?
Okay, so for chapter 13,
Yeah,
right? But in summary, right? So it imports and initializes
yeah,
both Express and MongoDB modules.
yeah,
It connects to the MongoDB database and inserts a contact document.
yeah,
It retrieves and logs all documents from the context collection.
yeah,
It sets up an EJS as the view engine and the middleware for static files
yeah.
layouts in data and JSON.
Yes.
It defines post and get routes to the home controller.
So it's
It
just
implements up.
there's HTTP responses, but they use the different URLs. The same HTTP.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And then carry on.
So yeah, plus also the EJS, remember for views.
Yeah, I remember
You
that.
have the index and layout.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it also implements error handling using
yes,
a custom error controller. starts an express at night on port 3000.
Yeah.
So basically what it does is it demonstrates a basic express server with MongoDB integration.
That's it, man.
Yeah,
And then that's pretty much it. And then for what we need in order for us to utilize MongoDB is we need to install it on the via the web. So that's also what we do. Install MongoDB and just make installations, Mongo install. And then once you've done installing it, what will happen is you get a zip folder, right? A zip. So that zip, what that does is it's called Mongoose. Win. So that's zip, and then you also got MongoDB. So you got the Mongo shell, which is a zip folder. Then you got MongoDB. So that pretty much MongoDB automatically. You don't need to do anything. It just gets assigned automatically. You just need to make installations because you just installed the package at first from the web. Then what you need to do is you need to make the installations from your side as well. Make the installations and then you just install everything. So your programs, you just make installations as a whole. And then yeah. And then once you're done making installations, what will happen is you'll just get assigned and then and then immediately your program files will immediately have your folder, your MongoDB folder. As for your Mongo shell, actually let me go over like my Mongo database folder first. So you go to your this PC and then MongoDB. And then what happened is MongoDB's got something called a server. So I renamed it from the actual long name that I was given, MongoDB, to a server. I mean to like MongoDB, but just MongoDB as a whole. Then you get assigned server 8.2. And then we got our bin and then so on and so forth. So that's pretty much what we have. That's pretty much what we have there, and then yeah, so on and so forth. So yeah, that's pretty much what we have. Then you could take out Mongo shell. Obviously, we need to download that as well. Take it, extract it, right? In my case, what I did was I extracted it to my bin folder, right? I just extracted it. I extracted it to my 8.2, to my bin. Oh, I know. Actually, I extracted to my 8.2, right? Extracted to there, and then obviously I get Mongo shell. But I renamed it from the long name that I have, which is Mongosh, uh, yada yada yada, to Mongo shell. And then you got your Mongo shell. So that's what you have. And then what in your Mongo shell, what you do is you go to mongosh.exe, right? You copy it, get out of your bin, you get out of your Mongo shell, you go to your bin here, and then you copy it onto your exe. Because your console or your terminal is making use of MongoDB or Mongo database, in order for your command to work, You need to extract your commands, your exe or your application to the bin that your terminal is going to be making use of, which is within your MongoDB. So that's what happens. And then, yeah, that's what you have. That's what you have. And then, obviously, we need to run our instructions. And then you also, using env, add a path, right? That you add a path. So, come on now. So what would have happened is for the env variable, what would have happened was we've done what would have happened was you would have added your bin path to your env variable. You've added this path to it, and then in that way, every time you make use of your terminal will be able to make out, what type of instructions you're setting, right? So what type of commands you're running in it, as I'll show you now. Let's go. And then you got environment variables, path, and then you got your command, your path here. So you got that. In pretty much do you go into your path, new, and then you add new, then you add this, and then you press OK, 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 and then yeah, I mean that's pretty much what you do. And then yeah, once you're done with that, what happens is you run your Mongoid, right? So you go to Windows Shell, right, and then you got your command prompts. Run as administrator, run as administrator, and then yeah, that's what happens. So your Mongoid, right, your Mongoid. So what that does is it pretty much what Mongoid does is it pretty much sets like your database. It pretty much sets your data. So this is the actual data that are set in my database. So it's just a bunch of computer language that the computer utilizes in order for it to understand what we said. As was said in JavaScript, computers has its own set language. So this is the language that the computer understands. It doesn't understand English, it doesn't understand any language that you make use of. It just understands this language and this language alone. Whereas for our database on our side, what we do is we do Mongo, right? Or Mongosh. Then what we'll do is you'll the current Mongosh log ID, you'll set it up and then connecting to MongoDB using MongoDB 8.2.1. So these are pretty much everything we use in that. Then for Mongosh info C, HTTPS, so on and so forth. So this is pretty much the instructions that we have. So test, then DB, then test, DB test. Okay, that was the first error that I made. I was supposed to run use db test or show dbs first, like db, and then use db test, and then we'll just show you just show everything here, your database, just show your database. Then use recipe.bdb, your database for your recipe. Then switch to your recipe database, and then what you'll do is db.context that insert Avellini, and then so that's for like my actually I was wrong at first, right? So I was supposed to name email the node. So db.context insert name Avellini, then email Avellini385 at gmail.com, and then node child of God, then Christ fighter. That's me. Amen to that. Where's the pastor and that? Where's my tithing? For my blessings. So that's me. Acknowledge colon true. So IDs 0 object ID 68, so on and so forth. And then yeah, so that's pretty much it. And then I'll run my node. So npm initial. Right, so that initialize. So that what initializes our project, right? So package.json just initializes it, and then when you initialize it, we get dependencies. All the dependencies get saved to package.json, and then all our node modules for Express, EJS, Mongoose, MongoDB, HTTP, so on and so forth. All of that gets stored into our package that's log.json. So that's what it gets stored, you know. Then our node underscore modules. So these are like node modules, and then so on and so forth. So that's what it is. And then home controller.js. So these are the controllers that we have. Every controller, just in case we're not able to find our file, and then home controller.js. Everything that we have, just in case we're able to find it. So it pretty much has our parameters, requests, so on and so forth. And then as you can see here, we've got our database. Right, so that's what we have. All contacts, ID, name, email, node. and then that's what we have, and then yeah, that's our database, including the one that I created for myself. Then yeah, we cannot get because we didn't set like URLs from client side. So you just only like set up the database. You only set up URLs for HTTP, uh, HTTP responses for a database. So that's it, you know, so on and so forth. So yeah, I mean that's what happened. And then yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how. So thank you very much, Navigator, for navigating. Take care, God bless, and I'll see you.